Hi, my name is Ron Wills, and this is the Big Idea podcast, powered by the National Association of Business Owners and Entrepreneurs. Our series today is based on the challenges to growth in the small and mid-sized business. Today's guest is Pramod Reheja, CEO of Airgility. Pramod, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your company?
Yeah, hey, thanks, Ron. Thanks for having me on. My name is Pramod Reheja, and you can call me Mode for short if you like. It's my nickname I've had since I was about 15. And I'm the CEO and co-founder of Airgility. We're a company based in the Washington, D.C. area. Specifically, our main operations are in College Park, Maryland. And we have a little presence in Northern Virginia as well. And we're growing in both states, actually, believe it or not. And happy to be here.
So we had talked about a couple of things that you had mentioned about hindrances to growth in your company. One was capital, and then one was sort of the whole myriad of things that happen in a company that you're starting and growing rapidly. So I'm going to let you pick which one you want to start with, but tell us a little bit about the challenges that you've had to growing your company.
Sure. So as I was making my introduction there, I didn't exactly say what we do. So I'll start with that. So we build for, we do artificial intelligence and autonomy. So what does that mean for drones? Drones are also called unmanned or uncrewed aerial systems. And so what does that mean? We essentially build self-flying software. So imagine, we've referenced movies, of course, in the past, Terminator being one, where you've got robots doing things and making decisions. That's what we do. We give the flying robot the opportunity or the ability really to do things on their own and to make decisions. And really, this can improve lives in many, many different ways in many different industries. There's an ROI to be had as well there. So what is the biggest challenge there? Of course, we talk about capital, and I think that applies to most companies. This one is a very capital intensive business. So capital, of course, is up there near the top of the list. But one of the other things that makes it very challenging and can challenge growth is if our readers have ever read the book Crossing the Chasm. And if you haven't, it's a great book to read. But that's a great book that describes the challenges we have. And I'll get into that here really quick. And what that means is we've got technology that's on the edge of what's possible. And when you're there, you don't have buyers necessarily that see that, right? And so you're now trying to find those companies, those needles in a haystack that are like, yes, we are ahead of the curve. We want to be ahead of the curve. We are putting budget and resources towards getting ahead of the curve and getting ahead of our competition. Those are the companies that we have to find. And so it's not as simple as, hey, let me go out and do lead gen. And, it's in lead gen, as we know, it becomes, of course, there's quality of content and effectiveness, but there's also numbers, right? It's a numbers game. So here, sure, of course, there's a numbers game, but it's more so on really qualifying your leads properly, right? So it becomes that marketing, that persona that we all in business have to learn how to do properly. And here it becomes super important, and it's hard. So because you don't know this stuff, and you're finding these use cases that you never even would have thought of. And we have a couple of those right now, which is great. Actually, it's good news.
It's interesting you said this. Very few firms have that issue of being on the leading edge of technology. And I'm fascinated when you say we've got to find people that understand the value of this. And it does take people a while to understand what this can actually mean in the future. As I follow Tesla and Elon Musk, and when he was pushing the battery operated car, a lot of people just thought, this is a side thing and it's not going to be that significant. But a few people got it early on, but very, very few. So tell me, how do you go about convincing people, not convincing or educating them or whatever you do, to get them at least to give you that time for you to be able to go in more detail about your products and services?
Yeah. So, now we're getting a little bit into marketing, which, we've found that if we can find the specific conference trade shows to attend and have a presence and even get a speaking or opportunity or a panel opportunity. That is big. We get a lot of attention and a lot of people interested from just that sort of thing. However, on a larger scale of now not just the conferences and things like that, there's sort of what I'll call authority marketing, where you start to be known as an authority. Your company starts to be known as an authority in a certain space. That's another way we do it. We're starting to kind of really do more of that with our social media, with our content. But secondly, the good news with our industry is people are embracing this technology. They just don't know how they want to use it yet. So as an example, I was just at a conference and I met two young gentlemen who were very friendly, and we started talking, and I asked them what they were doing there at the conference and what their goals were. And they said, our company is starting a UAS, or uncrewed aerial system division, and we're trying to figure out what we're going to be doing. So, we were at a conference that was very specific for the use cases, but they still hadn't quite figured out their own use cases, and they were there to learn and explore and talk to companies like us and understand how they might use our technologies. So it is a lot of what I would call educational type marketing when you're talking to these users. But the good news is they're very willing to listen, because they're trying to adapt the technology into their world.
For the overall small business, this is a very special case, but for anybody who's designing new technology, I can see you've really thought about, and you've put a lot of time and effort into the marketing piece of this, because you've got this product that has all these different uses. It really is truly an amazing challenge for a small company like yourself. So tell us a little bit about the capital side. How do you go about bringing in capital? Because I'm sure you need it for the software design and the hardware design as well. So you're not just a hardware company building drones. You are a software company that happens to build drones or take off the shelf drones. You tell us about how that works, but then you need capital. How you go about doing that?
Yeah. So I'll start with the latter point here, which is what you just described our business. And you just did a great job with that, because we started out as a platform hardware maker, and we turned into more of a software company that happened to have some great, amazing platforms, of which we have now 5 issued patents on these designs and their utility as well. And so a great job describing that, first of all, Ron. And secondly, so we started the company in mid 2017. And again, early on, we didn't really have anything that was operating or working. It was, my co-founder was a faculty at the University of Maryland working on some IP that he had developed. And so we were introduced. We had a so-called arranged marriage where we were introduced to actually start a business together. So about 3-4 months after meeting each other and getting to know each other and kind of really getting aligned, we started Airgility together. And early on, when you talk about money and capital, we really didn't have anything. It would have been, even getting angel investors would be difficult, because they would be like, okay, what's your business model? Well, we didn't really know at the time. Right. So we were fortunate, and we formulated our strategy to go after non-dilutive capital. So we went after grants and things like that. And I will say the state of Maryland has some great grants for early stage technology. And in different forms. There's TEDCO, and there's actually the University of Maryland and a few other entities that where you can, if you have something of value, then they're really interested in learning more and seeing if they can give you a little bit of a jump start. And so that's what we did. And then fast forward a little bit, we became a TEDCO portfolio company. And so there was some funding there. But then by 2020, we were really ready for the bigger seed round. We were like, okay, we now know what we're building. We know where we're going. We have validation. We have some contracts from Air Force and from DHS at this point. And COVID started right when we were doing our angel round. So we actually had to try to figure out if we were going to go in that direction where we would, do a traditional sort of angel round for seed. We were looking for like $1 million at the time. And but COVID happened. So everybody was on Zoom and everybody retrenched. and went kind of back to just taking care of their portfolio companies or not investing at all or getting risk averse. So we did something that I had been studying for a couple of years, and I'm really glad we did it because I don't know if we'd be around anymore if we had. We did a regulation crowdfund. And if the audience is not familiar with that, that's like a Kickstarter. Everybody says, is that like a Kickstarter? Well, it is sort of. It is crowdfunding, but it's different in that it's designed for more on the business side, and it's actually completely governed by the SEC. So it's kind of like you're going public, but you're not. So you still have to comply with a lot of different requirements and make sure that you check a lot of boxes before you can actually raise that money. And that's to protect investors. That's to protect the company as well. So we did that, and we were successful in raising the maximum amount we could at that time, and that launched us off into really developing our product. And now we're at a point where, which is an exciting place to be, which is we're at the growth point where we have products and we have other products being developed, and we're selling. And it's a whole nother heavy lift with this kind of thing because you really got to put a lot of effort into it, and you've got to have capital to build inventory and things like that.
What are the one or two products/services that you're either you have now or you'll be coming up with that you think are game changers?
Sure. So the very first product that we developed is, and by the way, we were very fortunate to get a contract from Department of Homeland Security, an R&D contract to develop this technology. And their goal in that whole thing was to help commercialize, which I think was phenomenal, and it did. So that product is a small UAS or small drone that is capable of flying by itself. So autonomous flight, almost fully autonomous flight. It has artificial intelligence on board, so it can make decisions like, I need to come home because my battery life is low, or, oh, hey, I am looking for somebody that might be alive in a search and rescue situation, in a disaster situation, and I sense that somebody might be over to the left here instead of the right. So I, the drone, am going to go left. And if I see something, I'm going to let my operators know. I'm going to pass that data real time, like right now. I'm going to send them a message to say, hey, come over here because I think there's somebody alive under that rubble, right? And so we're using different types of sensors for that sort of mission use case. And there's many other use cases. So that's product number one. We call it the DS1 Minotaur. It's called the Minotaur because, by the way, all our naming is Greek thematic naming. And it's the Minotaur because it's capable of going into tight, confined, complex environments, dangerous environments where you may not want to send a human, or you want to send this in first to take a look before you send in the human, as an example. And so, the Minotaur in Greek mythology inhabited the labyrinth. So the Minotaur is capable of going into like these tunnels and labyrinths type things. So we have a little fun with our naming as well. So that's product number one. And it is game changing because of the ability, how much autonomy and how much artificial intelligence it has on board, better than anything in the marketplace. And I feel very comfortable saying that because we've now gone head to head and been at conferences and things doing demos against our competition. And I definitely see the advantages and the value drivers behind what we're doing. The second product is something called Athena, again, a Greek name, goddess of wisdom. And that's our artificial intelligence and autonomy operating stack. So if you think about your computer, you have an operating system. This is like an operating system for a drone. And we're in the early stages of this product development. We have our first pilot clients that we're going to be working with. So this becomes a licensing play. And this one, to me, is the most exciting because of this is potentially gets us to $1 billion company if we're successful with this product, because we can install this software in any drone. And when I say any drone, there's always caveats, of course, but in general, you're able to go to the market and say, I have this software system that you could use.
And when you were talking about that, I was thinking sort of the Windows or the Apple operating system for drones. Is that sort of your goal?
Sort of, yeah. So there's already, we can already say there's an operating system on drones right now. That's essentially like the controller and autopilot, things like that are used to control the drone. But now you're adding a layer. You're adding an intelligence layer. We actually call that intelligence by Airgility, which we've trademarked. And so now you're adding, so your analogy is correct, but it's another layer that gives
another layer on top.
Yes, exactly.
Fascinating. Well, with this, we've come to the end of the podcast. I want to thank you very much for coming on board. It's been a lot of fun for me. I'm a technology geek, and I have found the one of the top technology firms here. So it's been a lot of fun. Best of luck to you, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Ron. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.